This advert looks silly, but it is not their fault. The fault lies with months. Months are not a proper unit of time, are they? A month is either 28, 29, 30 or 31 days long. In common parlance, we talk about a month being 4 weeks long, but they're not. Only February is exactly 4 weeks long, and even then, that's only true 3/4 of the time. 94% of months are longer than a month. We know exactly how many seconds in a minute, how many minutes in an hour, hours in a day, and days in a week. We even know exactly how many months in a year. But the months themselves are a mystery. They chop and change. Let me give you an example, okay? Let's talk about something real, human pregnancy. Okay, we've all learnt this all our lives, we all know. How many months are we told an average human pregnancy should last? 9. Very good. 9 months. Now, hands up if you are a parent. Okay, parents, how many weeks were you told on average your pregnancy would last? 40. 40 weeks is 10 bloody months, isn't it? 10 months, we've been bilked our whole lives. You spend your whole life as a woman thinking if you get pregnant it'll be 9 months, and then you get there and you discover it's actually 10. You've been conned, haven't you? Let's look at the year. How many months are there in a year? 12. Exactly. How many weeks are there in a year? 52. Good. However, 12 months, well, 12 times 4 is 48. And 52 minus 4 is 48. Doesn't take a genius to work out we've got 4 extra weeks. And what do 4 weeks make? A month. There are actually 13 months in a year. We are being paid for 12 months' work, and we are doing 13 months' work a year. This is outrageous. This is absolutely outrageous, and I have a solution. I have reformed the calendar. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Now, before the break, I promised you a reform of our broken and deceptive Gregorian calendar. But let me be clear, it is not just the lack of rigour that I have issue with. I have another issue with months, a linguistic one. These are the months as we know them today. Take a look at the word October. Oct. Think of all the other words you know beginning with oct. Octopus, octagon, octogenarian. Think of all the words you know beginning with dec. Decade, decimal, decathlon. You don't have to be the sharpest linguist out there to realise that sept, oct, nov, dec represents 7, 8, 9, 10. And yet we've put them in positions 9, 10, 11, 12. Why has that happened? I'll tell you why that's happened. It's because of the bloody Romans. Before that, we used to have months called quintilis and sextilis. It used to be 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. But then the Romans got all egotistical on us. They wanted to name 2 months after their emperors. They named months after Julius Caesar and Augustus Caesar. Can you imagine the ego involved in naming a month after a human being? It's one thing naming it after a god. You know, you've got January after Janus, that's okay. Mars gives you March, that's okay. I mean, if you believe in a god, why wouldn't you want to venerate them by naming something as fundamental as a period of time after them? That makes sense. But not an actual human being. Get your egos out of the game. That is ridiculous. Well, they have confused things by naming July and August so, and then everything got moved around at a later date. So what we're going to do, we're going to correct this system. The first thing we're going to do is sort out the numbering, obviously. So let's call that 7, 8, 9, 10, because they are called 7, 8, 9, 10. That's what they are. So if they're going to be 7, 8, 9, 10, it follows, does it not, that that becomes 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. So if that's what the numbers are going to be now, let's move July and August down to there, and let's move January and February down to there. So now we've got all the same months in the same order, it's just the numbering is more appropriate, okay? That's easy. Now, let's remove the egotistical Romans from our calendar. Let's remove Julius Caesar, remove Augustus Caesar. Let's perform a Caesarean section on our calendar. Let's remove them completely and replace them with the months they replaced, quintilis and sextilis, which are now in the right place, 5 and 6. That is the numbering sorted out. We've got 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, exactly where they should be. Now, obviously, is the time we introduce the 13th month, which, of course, will be Gormanuary. Now, what we've got there is 13 months of exactly 28 days long. Everything ticks over perfectly. March the 1st, New Year's Day, will always be a Sunday because nobody wants to go straight back to work on New Year's Day, do they? And it will always be a Sunday because of the order in the calendar. The 1st of every month will always be a Sunday. The 2nd of every month will always be a Monday. And that means that New Year's Eve, the 28th of Gormanuary, will always be a Saturday. Now, it might have occurred to some of you, that 13 times 28 is 364. And that means we've got a day spare. We can't force the year to only be 364 days long. The year is to do with the stars and the planets. So what we're going to do is, after Gormanuary, we're going to have an intermission. It's 1 day long. It's not called Sunday, it's not called Monday, it's not called anything. It isn't a day of the week, it is just intermission. It is basically an extended New Year's piss-up. You can go out on New Year's Eve, you don't have to go back until the 1st of March, everything is fine. What happens in intermission stays in intermission. And every 4th year, we have a 2-day intermission, and we call both of those days intermission. That's all it is. That regulates everything. Everything flows in a very orderly fashion from that point on. We have talked previously on this show about the old 30 days hath September rhyme. I think we can all agree that this system improves upon that rhyme. The rhyme now goes 28 days hath March, April, May and June. All the rest have 28 too, because that's how long a month is. There you go. It's much easier. Much easier. I'm confident in this. I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to put the PowerPoint down for a moment. I'm just going to say, any questions? Any questions about the system? Yes, sir.
When are the bank holidays?
The bank holidays, we have the same number of bank holidays as we do now. We spread them evenly throughout the year, very easy. The only difference will be the people we won't let have a holiday are the ones who work in banks. It's an improvement on bank holidays right there. Right there. Good lady in the T-shirt.
What if you're born on the 30th or the 31st of the month? Do you just move it along to the next month?
You're asking about birthdays?
Yeah, birthdays.
Yeah, OK, I'm glad you asked. Birthdays. Well, let's use my birthday as an example, because everyone's birthday is going to change in this new system, right? I was born on March the 2nd, 1971. So the first thing you have to do is work out how many days into the year that was. So, for example, in me, it's quite easy. You know, there's 31 days in January in the old system, 28 days in February in both systems, and it wasn't a leap year, so there were just 28 days. 31 plus 28 plus the 2 days take you to the 2nd of March, makes it the 61st day of the year. Then you map that onto the new calendar, OK? Very easily done for this. 28 for March, 28 for April, that's 56. Leaves 5 spare. So my new birthday becomes May the 5th. March the 2nd, 61st day of the year, is May the 5th. And you do that with every day. It's very simple. I've actually got a little guide to help you. This is an old calendar, you know, using the current system, and I've mapped every day onto it, and lots of things are improved by doing this. For example, you know, you want to keep all the nice holidays and festivals and little sort of celebrations we have in life, like April Fool's Day. We're not getting rid of April Fool's Day, but April the 1st is the 91st day of the year, and so in the new calendar, it becomes Saturday the 7th of June. And I think we can all agree it's going to be much easier to catch people out. Knowing that, that's better. November the 5th. Again, you don't want to move it to the new November the 5th because it wouldn't be getting dark early enough for November the 5th to make sense. So you keep it where it is, you just map it onto the new date. So, for example, if you just find November in the old calendar, November the 5th would be the 309th day of the year, and so it now becomes Sunday the 1st of February every time. And again, that's very easy to remember. You just use the rhyme, remember the 1st of February. So it's just a simple process of mapping things on. That is true for every holiday, every festival going. Very easy. We got one towards the back there, yeah?
Have you changed the star signs, and if so, what's the new 13th one?
My advice to astrologers would be to just keep making it up as they always did. Doesn't matter for them. Yes, a blonde lady down here?
You do know that means there's going to be 13 Friday the 13th in the year.
I do, yes. Every month has Friday the 13th now. Yeah, exactly right. But the thing is, if you have to go through 13 Friday the 13th every year from the day you're born until the day you die, you're going to get over it. It's called exposure therapy. Yes, there's a man down here.
What about things that don't happen on a fixed day, like Easter or Chinese New Year?
Easter, it isn't. You know, that's the thing. It moves around. It's a movable feast at this moment in time. In the new system, we will nail Easter down. We've thought of everything. We really have. In fact, just looking through that calendar of the old system, which shows you how complicated it is, we've got a new calendar, and we'll have new merchandise to go with it. So, for example, you could get a calendar like this, right? The thing with this kind of calendar, now, every day is always the same day of the year. It's always a Sunday on March the 1st. We know that. The same system. So what we do with these calendars now, you produce them and they're wiped clean. And then you've got one calendar for the rest of your life. That's less printing, less trees being killed. You can go anywhere. It doesn't have to be a sexy calendar like this. It doesn't have to be, but... But if it is, that doesn't matter because, like I say, it is wiped clean. So, that's an improvement all round as well, isn't it, really? I'll tell you...
All the calendars, clocks, and watches around you are secretly the biggest lie that you have ever looked over in your life. These tools and systems of time weigh heavily on what we consider to be reality. This is because reality, which could be defined as real time, the now, is called natural time. And this is based off of the relative cycle that our sky and characters of the sky have to the human social and physical cycles that we can perceive, that we can be conscious of. I'm going to say that again. Natural time is based off of the relative cycle of the sky to the human cycle, to the human social and physical cycles that we can be conscious of. The time we believe to be real today is based off of purely social timing, or I've heard other people consider this to be artificial timing. Social timing, which are the tools that I named to be clocks, watches, and calendars, our social timings are based off of the human want to have organized social engagement and synchronized social engagement and interactments. Artificial time is mostly used in cultures that do not understand cosmology, but they like to benefit off of it through their commerce and their economies. When social timing replaced, and in any case in civilization over the period of ages and years, when social timing replaces natural time, there is a history that it allows a dominant human, or a human basically, to control others' perception of nature and how and when they should act upon nature. So now, let me ask you something. Because, I'm saying all this, but it's because you're here and you're watching this. So I got to engage you. I want to ask you something. And I want you to actually ponder upon this. If all you had to do was make a calendar to save/control the masses of people, would you make a calendar? Would you? Okay. Now
I am very perplexed when you say that time is speeding up. As far as I can tell, such things as crystal oscillators, things which keep time, clocks, the relationship of the earth turning to the calendar, the full moon, all of the things which are symptoms of our passage through time, don't seem to be throwing themselves out of kilter. So what do you really mean about time speeding up?
Well, let me answer in the form of a question. Which lasts longer? 1,000,000 years in which nothing happens, or 10 seconds with 50,000 events crammed into it? In other words, really time is only experienced by the events which occur within it. And I maintain that the early universe had very little going on, and consequently, time moved very, very slowly. The character of time as we approach the present is that there are more and more physical domains and energetic domains in which change can occur. For example, the early universe was a pure plasma, a pure swarm of unassociated electrons. You didn't even have atomic systems, let alone chemistry, molecular chemistry, life, complex speciated life, and dynamically balanced planetary ecosystems. Each one of those more complex phenomena crystallized out or emerged, if you will, from the previous systems that had come into existence. So when I say time is speeding up, what I mean really is that more and more is happening. More and more is happening. And if you ask the question, well, what would be the ultimate state of connectivity or of happening? It's when all points are connected to all other points. Somehow this concept of connectivity is intimately linked to the concept of complexity. And so really what I'm saying is that the universe is getting its act together. It's connecting the dots. It's bringing everything into co-relationship with everything else. And somehow it does this through the production of consciousness. Consciousness is this integrative function in biology which takes data which may appear profoundly unrelated, and in fact brings it into some kind of a congruent relationship. We say an organism coordinates a point of view. Well, in a way, what's happening over time is that the universe is coordinating a point of view. And as it does this, it becomes somehow more aware, more self-conscious, more being-like and less thing-like. And as I said, this process is not proceeding at a steady pace. It's proceeding faster and faster. More connectivity occurs now in a calendar year than occurred in 1,000,000 years, 1,000,000,000 years ago. So somehow, as we approach the present, we find ourselves in an ever denser realm of activity, interrelationship, connectivity, and the result of this is more of the same, producing a shrinking globe, ever more immersive technologies, dissolution of political, social, gender, and class boundaries of all sorts. So that's what I mean when I say the universe is speeding up. You know, before the advent of man, of human beings, the fastest changes on this planet of any consequence were genetic changes, changes in the genomes of plants and animals. Well, biologists know that for a fruit fly to add a spur to its leg, for a bird to change its plumage, you need hundreds of thousands, sometimes millions of years of evolutionary time. With the advent of human beings using spoken language, a new kind of possibility was born. It's called epigenetic change. In other words, change which is not about genes, but which is about languages, customs, behaviors of human beings. Epigenetic change reaches its dramatic culmination in speech, writing, and communication of all sorts. And so the carriers of epigenetic change, the human beings, are automatically then the carriers of accelerated novelty. And so when you look at, let's say, evolution on a coral reef, and you compare it, let's say, to the evolution of political ideas in modern Europe, obviously, modern Europe's rate of change in this domain is thousands of times faster. So by moving from the genetic to the epigenetic realm, we have vastly accelerated all kinds of processes. Now we appear to be about to move from the strictly human domain to the human-machine symbiosis domain. And of course, machines process information, make connections, and do their work at a rate thousands of times faster than any human being can work. So we see again a progressive acceleration of the process of creating and maintaining varieties of connectivity. And that's what I mean by time is speeding up.
Hola, you gorgeous people out there. Thanks for being with me once again and sending lots of good energy and good vibrations to all of you. And welcome to my new subscribers. I'm only a new channel, but I'm growing bit by bit every day, and I really appreciate you dropping by and listening to the sound of my voice going blah 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 through this video camera at you. And always know one thing about me is I don't claim to have the whole truth about anything. I'm not a spiritual guru. You know, I'm really a master of nothing. But I am a wizard in training, and I do believe that all humans are wizards in training, and that we are all little creators. And when it comes to things that I can say I know for absolute sure in this life, the list is quite small. I would say, one, I know absolutely that there's an intelligent, creative presence that governs this entire reality. Number two, manifestation. It does occur. I've seen it. I think about something and it appears. So that's something I can say I know for sure that that's definitely real. And for that to be real, well, there has to be an intelligent, creative presence in the universe. So those two things, I can pretty much say I know for sure. All the rest of everything, I don't really have all those answers, and I'm still seeking. And to be honest, it can get a bit confusing sometimes. But one thing I've found is that when I live inside artificial time, the confusion, it's greater, and the stress, it's greater. Artificial time is man-made. It's run by watches and clocks and digital gadgets, you know, electricity, all this stuff. And, you know, you have to be here at that time, and if you don't, then you're a bad person, or, you know, you're going to get in trouble at school. If you're not on time, whew, you're a bad child. You're very naughty. You're going to go nowhere in life. So, you know, a lot of energy is attached to this idea of time, this artificial time that man has created. And when you're inside that artificial time, a lot of your wizarding ability, well, it's clipped, and you actually lose a lot of connection to this reality, or to the divine reality, or the natural reality that is around you all the time, and you lose a connection to the magic. And anyone who's travelled, like backpacking around the world or whatever, without needing to be at a certain place at a certain time, you know, no watch, you know, sort of like living in the moment, will tell you that when you live in the natural time, which is basically sun comes up, you get up, you go about your day, you just see what happens, you go with the feeling, and then when the sun goes down, you feel tired, you go to bed. You know, there's no kind of appointment at this time and I have to be there. You know, everything's just like, oh, I'll be there when I'll be there, or I'll just go with the flow, and all these kind of things. When you're in that time, the natural time, everything is a lot more magical, and you will find synchronicities in your day, like little mini miracles. Just your whole day is guided by them. Your whole day is like a magical shamanic adventure. And this really is a big difference, and something that's really affecting humans and society at large is this artificial time versus natural time. And yeah, I really recommend, whenever you can, getting a little dose of that natural time. You know, go for a week, go for 2 weeks in the forest, on the beach. Don't take a watch with you. You know, don't have your mobile phone telling you with an alarm clock when to get up and all this stuff. Don't have to be anywhere at a specific time. Just wake up when you feel like it, go to bed when you feel like it, and then just go with the flow. Go outside, see where the day takes you. And you will see what I mean. The synchronicities, it's just astounding. And the speed at which you manifest just becomes, it's almost instant. It becomes incredibly quick. Whereas when you're in the artificial time, you know, you can still manifest, but it might be, you might be a bit more stressed or a bit more tired, or it might take a bit longer, because the kind of living in the flow part doesn't happen as naturally or as quickly. Or, you know, if you're just at home watching your TV, or you've got to be at a business meeting at 7, you don't have much time to explore kind of bumping into someone on the train and then just going on a mad adventure with them and seeing where that leads you, or just going for a you know, you don't have that freedom of choice and movement. So yeah, artificial time versus natural time, it's a big difference. And for wizards particularly, I really recommend getting a good dose of natural time into your lives. And yeah, see where the flow takes you. Okay, my darlings, well, I love you all, and I wish you all so much abundance and magic and amazing things in your life. It makes me feel happy just thinking about it. Okay, I'll see you next time.